So I always feel very inspired when I hear our mission and vision. Okay, so just a bit of housekeeping before we begin. In the coming days, we'll be sending you some emails with some amazing offers, and we want to make sure you receive them. We know that a lot of times our emails will go into your spam or promotions folders, so we have a couple strategies to help you avoid that. The first one is if you add our email, herbwomen@gmail.com, to your contacts, that will help direct our emails to the right place. Also, tonight, we're going to send you an email with a nice coupon code in it. If you go ahead and hit reply and just say hello to that email, this lets your email server know that we're friends now. And so all of our emails should come into your inbox. That way you won't miss any good deals, any coupons, any announcements. It'll all come into your inbox. We'd like to ask that you keep all questions and comments in the chat tonight focused on tonight's topic. If you have any questions about Midwest Women's Herbal or our work, please contact us at herbwomen@gmail.com. We would like to thank our sponsors who make hosting events like this possible: Moonwise Herbs, Mountain Rose Herbs, Frontier Co-op, Goodland Creative, Peaceful Parlor, Herb Farm, Pacific Botanicals, Host Defense Mushrooms, Great Lakes Herb Fair, Red Earth Herbal Gathering, Wisconsin Mycological Society, Wisconsin Public Radio, the Driftless Folk School, and Natural Awakenings Magazine. Sponsorship is open to everyone at any level and helps to support the many scholarships that we award every year. You can check out our website for sponsorship opportunities. Okay, and we just have a couple of quick announcements before we dive in. Did you know that Midwest Women's Herbal has an online virtual learning space? It is called the Herb Women Classroom, and we have both free and paid offerings with hundreds of hours of learning available about mushrooms, herbs and nourishment, personal growth. We have a little bit of everything over there, and we keep adding stuff all the time. Every learning module comes with a very, very unique opportunity to sit with Linda once a month. That is a pretty big deal. We call that the monthly live herbal Q&A, and it's where you pop in the last Wednesday of the month and you get to sit with Linda and get your questions answered. It's a really unique experience that comes with all of the courses. We also have complete recording packages available on the classroom from past events, and there's just really something there for everyone. Coming soon to the classroom, we will also have seasonal herb walks with elder ethnobotanist Patricia Armstrong. So there's just a wealth of knowledge in the classroom, so please check it out. Registration is open for Midwest Women's Herbal Conference, May 24th through the 26th at Camp Helen Brockman in Elman, Wisconsin. We have keynote speakers, Dr. Taruni Lowdog, Mimi Hernandez, and Lisa Ganora, as well as a stellar lineup of amazing workshops you won't want to miss. Register now to take advantage of our amazing early bird pricing. Registration is also open for our 2024 In Our Own Hands Women's Wellness Series. We are thrilled with the amazing lineup of powerful and knowledgeable women teaching this winter, including Phyllis Light, Robin Klein, Julie Charette Nunn, Dr. Cornelia Cho, Bevan Clare, our own Linda Conroy, and our very special guest tonight, Sheri Winston. In Our Own Hands begins January 20th. It's coming up. So you can sign up for one, you can sign up for all 7 to get the best deal, and recordings are included. So don't let, I'm going to be out of town that weekend, I can't be there, stop you from signing up, because you won't miss a thing. All right, let's get going. One more announcement, sorry. At the end of tonight's conversation, we'll be giving away a copy of Sheri's book, Women's Anatomy of Arousal, Secret Maps to Buried Pleasure, as well as one registration for In Our Own Hands Women's Wellness Series. You need to be present to win, so you need to stay till the end to be eligible to win one of these amazing prizes. Okay. I'm honored to introduce Linda Conroy, visionary and founder of Midwest Women's Herbal Conference, Mycelium Mysteries Women's Mushroom Conference, the In Our Own Hands Women's Wellness Series, the Herb Women Classroom, and owner of Moonwise Herbs. She also offers both in-person and virtual herbal apprenticeship programs. Linda is a bioregional herbalist who has been practicing and teaching herbalism in the wise woman tradition for over 30 years. Welcome, Linda.
Thank you, Maria.
Mhm.
And thank you for all that info. Sometimes I forget how much we're doing. And
Yes,
for all your
and thank you for hitting record. I forgot.
yes. I know came back on because my power went out. I saw it wasn't recording. So, with that, just to let those of you who've known, I lost power twice already since we've been on this call. So I went to my mobile hotspot. So that probably won't happen. So I should be good to go. So welcome everyone. I am super excited about this evening's conversation. Sheri Winston has attended, we were trying to figure out a time frame, but we're guessing maybe 8-9 years ago, attended live in person at the Midwest Women's Herbal Conference. And I remember when she was teaching and women left her one of her workshops, and the buzz about orgasms started. Women were like, wow, she was talking about just sitting there and having an orgasm. And they were just finding it really, intriguing and novel. And so I remember thinking to myself, this is such an important topic for us to be talking about. And with our mission that we are interested in, women finding our whole, the whole realm of who we are and really diving deep. So when we had the opportunity to host Sheri for our wellness series and then for tonight's community conversation, I was just so thrilled myself to go back and reread her book, which I've been doing. So it's been really fun. So I'm going to read, I just wanted to say a couple personal things there and how excited I am, but I'm going to read Sheri's bio because I know some of you don't know her and I really want you to hear. Sheri is someone who has quite a foundation of knowledge to bring to this topic, and I really honor and respect all that she brings. So I want you to hear it. So her bio: holistic sexuality teacher, author, and founder of Intimate Arts Center, Sheri offers pleasure-centered sex education, for grown-ups. Award-winning author of Women's Anatomy of Arousal, Secret Maps to Buried Pleasure, and Succulent Sexcraft, your hands-on guide to erotic play and practice. Sheri's been a sexuality teacher for 25 years after decades as a certified nurse midwife, gynecology practitioner, registered nurse, childbirth educator, massage therapist. She delights in inspiring people with empowering, entertaining, erotic education for everyone. Welcome, Sheri. We're so excited to have you here.
I'm so excited to be here. I had so much fun when I came out to teach at that conference, and I was just delighted that you invited me to do this. So thanks for that. I appreciate all you do and the enormous opportunities you create for women. So thank you for that.
Yes. Well, I'm so looking forward to this conversation. And I know, as we were kind of prepping for this, we talked about a really interesting question that I'm interested in your response to, which is, how did you come to a place where you decided to have this as the focus of your work? Because you obviously have done all of these other things. And, people go all different paths with being a midwife or a medical practitioner, but you chose to have this as your focus. And how did that come to be?
Well, I think it's kind of a fun story because when I tell people I'm a holistic sexuality teacher now and I used to be a midwife, most people go, what? That's weird. Like, I mean, what does sex have to do with having babies? Well, surprisingly enough, the two are connected. In fact, childbirth is a sexual activity. It's all connected. It's integral. It's not separate at all. But I didn't know I was going to wind up here. Obviously, I started out on that path of being called to attend women when they were birthing, which included becoming a certified midwife, gynecology practitioner, that whole thing. And I thought that was what I was going to do for my whole life. I did. I I was also teaching childbirth education classes, and I just thought, when I got too exhausted to wake up in the middle of the night and go to birth, I thought I would be teaching midwifery. That's what I envisioned. So when it got to the point where I did not want to be getting up at night anymore after 20 something years on call, I was going to take a break from midwifery, and I thought I would go back. First, I thought I was just going to take a break. And I was working at that point as a nurse practitioner, a clinician, that sort of thing, which was great. And I liked doing it, but it wasn't a passion. It wasn't my calling. I was happy to go and take good care of women, but I wasn't waking up on the days I was going into the clinic going, oh, great, I'm going to go take care of, a dozen women, really great. I mean, it was just, but I've been teaching all along, and I had expanded my curriculum already at that point to teach what I called womancraft classes, which were things like menstrual health and menopausal health, stuff like that. And at that point, I added a class on how to have better orgasms. Now, you might ask, well, how did I know that? So I was teaching from when I was 20, childbirth education classes. So I was teaching women how to use their breath and sound, and how to open up the channel and open this to open the below. And I was teaching all this stuff, pelvic floor muscle play. And I was doing that for over 10 years before I realized I had an epiphany, where I realized I'd been teaching myself how to have better sex. I just thought that's what happened. If you have a good partner and you're comfortable with yourself, that sex, it gets easier to get turned on and easier to have orgasms, and you can have more. I thought that's what happened for everybody. So at a certain point, I started to realize that is not what happens for everybody, in fact. And I realized I'd been training myself. And at that point, I was in my early 30s, and I thought, well, if I've come this far in my abilities and my capacities without even trying, what would happen if I started studying on purpose? And so I started going to Tantra classes and some Native American sexuality studies and Taoist and Western sexological, official science stuff. And I started doing that thinking I was going to learn how to have even better, easier, more amazing sex. So that was really, I thought, for me and my partner. But I started learning all the stuff I was able to take back into birth world. And that's when I started realizing, oh, it's not sex.
Totally intertwined.
It is so integral. So after I retired, I thought, well, I have really learned some amazing orgasm skills. Not to brag, but impressive skills. And it's not like the orgasm fairy came and sprinkled orgasm dust over my cradle. I learned all these things, right? Because I started out, like most of us, not knowing how to have orgasms, or not being able to have orgasms with partners, and all the things, that the challenges or the learning that we need to do. And so I added the orgasm class, and it was so much fun. And I started teaching that class. And the days when I was teaching, I woke up just so juicy and jazzed up because I was teaching. And then my guy friends wanted to come to the class. I'm like, no, 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 it's only for women. They're like, well, teach us too. And so then I did a class for men about how to help their female partners have better sex. And that was so much fun for those of
And
us.
that's only going to help them have better sex, right?
Exactly. That's a win-win. And for those of us who do partner with men, just the idea that you would have a room full of men listening to every word you say, it's thrilling. Right? So, and that just expanded. Then I started teaching about sexual communication and boundaries, and I kept learning, and I just kept expanding. And then that just turned into this whole curriculum. I kind of developed this holistic sexuality model, and I invented the title of holistic sexuality teacher because there was nothing that described what I did. If I say I'm a sexuality teacher, people think I teach sex ed in schools. And while I do occasionally do programs at colleges and stuff, that's not what I'm doing. This is like sex ed for grown-ups, right? So I invented that title because
Well,
otherwise,
so
otherwise
that
it'd be
would
like
be
I'm a midwife of people's sexuality.
So that it would be wonderful to hear if you describe what does that mean, holistic sexuality, so that we're all on the same page with the definition here.
Well, I mean holistic in its biggest sense. So it's about me and my relationship with myself. That's the foundation. Our sexuality is about our relationship with ourselves. I'm my primary partner. I am the only one I've been with all my life, and I'm going to be with all my life. So this relationship is about my mind, my body, my heart, my spirit. It's about my past, all the experiences that I have had in my life. In fact, the experiences my parents had in their life that affected me, right? How I interact with my communities around sexuality, how I interacted with my son or other young people around sexuality. So it's about all of our relationships. Nothing is separate. And so it's like I said, it's the big picture of holism. And then the way I frame what a lot of what I teach is about understanding we all these buckets of tools. I've got tools of the mind, right? I've talked already about some of the body tools like breathing and sound and movement, especially those pelvic floor muscles. Those are really key. Yeah. So, but also, like I said, we have tools of the mind, how we pay attention, our thinking. How do we change our mind when we want to unlearn something we've been programmed in a negative way and replace that with positives? Because
And that's a big piece of this, right? Because there's so much programming around how we relate to our sexuality. Can you just talk a little bit about that? I know in the program that you're going to do, there'll be a deeper dive into all these topics, but I think that's really, and this is really an important thing to start to think about, like, how do we change that programming?
it is a really great question. And I think the first thing is to become aware of it. You know, it's like we've got this little radio station playing in the back of our head. And sometimes the station is tuned to what I call radio fuck you, radio FU, as it were, which is the negative stuff, that voice, you know, that's, you know, oh, your genitals are ugly and smelly and dirty, or your body doesn't look right, or you don't have orgasms the right way, or there's something wrong with you, or you're broken, or, you know, the objectification. I mean, the list goes on and on. We all know to some extent, but when we really start paying attention, and attention is our number one mind skill, and bringing into our awareness, then we can start reprogramming. Then we can start getting rid of those negative messages and replacing them with positives. And there's a lot of different ways we can do that. But I will mention, without going into the details, I will say the best time to reprogram yourself is when you're in an altered state of consciousness. And guess what arousal is? It's an altered state of consciousness.
Altered state.
So if you want to change your mind about your body and your sexuality, your genitals, the best time to do that reprogramming, to be thinking the positive thoughts, the loving thoughts, is when you're in a state of sexual arousal.
That's so intriguing, right? So along those lines too, one of the tools, I know we spoke about this as well as we were prepping for tonight, about our wellness series. And the first session, I'm going to be doing a session on communication. And the style of communication I work with, it very matches what you were talking about, how we start with ourselves and the communication with ourselves. And then that can emulate outside of ourselves as we choose or not. But I wonder how communication fits into all of this, because it seems, especially if we decide to take what we're learning about ourselves outside of ourselves and share it and interface with other people, and then the internal dialogue too. Can you talk a little bit about how that dovetails together?
I would love to. And I also actually want to give a plug for your session. I'm a huge fan of nonviolent communication, also known as compassionate communication. I've studied it a lot and extensively, and it changed my life. So
mine too,
absolutely. Going to your session, or not even thinking about it, go to your session. I really recommend that, because part of this, as I said, it's about our relationship with ourselves. So before I can communicate with a partner about sex, and if I want to have great partner sex, I've got to be able to communicate. There are no psychic partners out there. That myth that, oh, if they loved me, they would know what I want. They would know how to please me. Crap. We need to learn how we operate. And then we need to share that. We need to teach others and do it in a positive way. And it starts, well, there's many ways it starts, that relationship with ourselves, but it also really starts about how we name things, right? So we've got so many challenges about sexual communication. The first one that I realized when I was in, I don't know, maybe 19 or 20, and I just realized I needed to be able to talk about sex to the people I was having sex with, which was just a horrendous idea to me at the time. I was so silent. I didn't make any noise. I didn't communicate. And I realized I needed to do that. And I realized I didn't even have a word for my own genitals that I was comfortable with. Didn't have, what was I going to call it? How could I ask them to go down there? Right? That's a lot of people, right? Down there, like it's Africa or something, right? It's far, far away, and
Far away.
really go there. Yeah, so I and this is something you all can actually do, which is if you don't have a word for your own genitals that you like, that you're comfortable with, this is a great time to start finding that word. And what I said to myself was, well, what's the word I hate the least? Because I hated all the words. I mean, vagina. Ugh, I didn't want to use that. I was going to say, touch my vagina. Cunt, forget about it. I just was horrified by that word. And so I came to pussy because I've always had cats. I love cats. They're soft, they're furry, and you pet them, they purr. So I was like, okay, that's it. That's the word I'm going to use. I'm going to reclaim pussy. And I literally remember this from when I was a long time ago, standing in the bathroom, looking in the mirror and going, pussy, 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 until it was just nonsense. And then I challenged myself to use it in a sentence the next time I was having sex. And I still remember the internal debate I had. I don't remember the guy. I have no idea who the guy was. But inside I was going, say it. No, I can't say it. Yes, say it. You said you were going to say it. Now say it. I don't think I'm a slut. Do it. Yeah, right. And then finally I blurted it out, and the sky didn't fall and he didn't run away screaming. And that's one of our other skills, which is courage. If you want to liberate your sexuality and have all the pleasure that you are capable of, you've got to have courage. And that doesn't mean you're not afraid. It means you do it anyway. Right? And so then it gets a little easier because courage is a muscle. It's a heart skill. It's about loving yourself or loving somebody else if you're being courageous, like a firefighter runs into the burning building to save the baby. That's courage, right? In this case, we're the baby. We're our own baby. We have to save ourselves. And that takes courage. But every time you do it, that muscle gets stronger. And then the next step gets easier. And then one day you can just be sitting in front of a room full of people using the word pussy like it was no big deal. Right? Here we are.
Here we are.
Mm-hmm.
And so can you just name some of the possibilities of words that people might like play with? Just
Sure. Well, of course, you could use vulva, which is more anatomically correct because vagina is just the canal. Vulva is, pretty much the whole thing. So vulva is not bad. I think. Like I said, pussy's my favorite word. There's the sacred Sanskrit word yoni, which is just beautiful and it's round and open and it means basically the entrance to the universe, right? Hey, I was a
right.
midwife. I told lots of people come into this universe through the yoni, right? That's exactly what it is. What a reverent way to think of it.
That's my favorite
Mhm.
personally, yes.
Yoni's a good one, but you might have to tell someone else what you mean.
What it means exactly,
Because
yes.
they might not know. So those are my favorites. And of course, some people just make things up. When I used to be a practitioner and a midwife, I heard all the different words, Fifi and punani, and it just goes on and on. There's a really lot of words. You can make up your own word if you want. You just have to let people know. Yeah, and when I've done classes, I've had people just shout out all the words. I don't think we can do that on this setting. But what's most important, you don't have to use the word I use or the word you use, just find your own language for, and of course, not just for your genitals, but for the activities you might want to engage in. And then learn how to make sexy, positive, erotic requests, and how to be a good teacher so that you can let your partners have the opportunity to assist you in your pleasure the way they probably want to, but they don't know how because nobody ever taught them.
Right, as much as we don't know, a lot of times our partners don't know.
And if we partner with penis owners, it's even more challenging. I mean, if we partner with other women, at least we've got the same equipment. And so we're much more likely to be able to figure out how to please our partner and be pleased. But when we partner with people who've got the other kind of plumbing, it's really their wiring and their erotic energy tends to move differently and behave differently. This gets into my whole pussies and puppies school of love. But
Well, it's interesting because I told you I had years ago read your book, and this week I've been listening to it, which I highly recommend if people have the opportunity to listen. Sheri actually reads the book herself, and she does an amazing job. And so one of the things I was thinking when I was listening is this would be so wonderful to encourage partners to listen to this together.
yeah,
That really, because reading it together would be fine too, but I thought listening to it together seems like it would be a really rich way to hear the information and also to dialogue about it as they were listening. So I don't know if you have any tips about that, but that's what occurred to me when I was listening.
well, I think there's lots of strategies. I mean, in the book itself, I've got hot tips for guys, little things so that if you have a partner who doesn't want to read the whole book, you can just say, here, just read this little sidebar. And then at the end of the book, I've got like this very short chapter of just kind of summaries of things. And then my hope, of course, is that at that point, they'll go read the whole book.
Yeah.
And they often do. And they often do. So that's a great way. And then there's lots of games, lots of whatever you want to call them, rituals, games, exercises, ideas of ways to explore. And my other book, Succulent Sexcraft, has tons of ideas for games and lots more in that department.
Wonderful.
And then the last thing I'll say about that, which is that
Yes.
if you do listen to the book, download the PDFs of my anatomy illustrations, because the heart of the book, or the crotch of the book, as I like to say, the pelvis of the book is the female anatomy that most of us don't know. And I have all these drawings that I did of the actual anatomy, all the parts you really have, including the ones you probably never heard of, how they're connected and how to make them happy. And then the other thing, just to sort of throw another piece in there of another way to find out some of that, is go to my website and look at the blogs. And I've got a bunch of blogs about anatomy. So if you don't buy the book, at least go read the blogs, look at the anatomy illustrations, or better yet, come to the class, because we're doing
So
the
that
3-hour version.
Yes, that was my next question. I'm wondering if you can just give us some highlights of what we might expect to deep dive into for the 3-hour class.
So here's the thing. Now, remember, I had all that education, right? I got all those initials. Yeah, CNM, RN, massage therapist. I studied anatomy 5 times with a focus on female genital anatomy. And here I was already a certified nurse midwife. I thought I knew all there was to know. And I pick up this book called New View of a Woman's Body. And there's a chapter in there, it's talking about anatomy, and they talk about the vestibular bulbs. The what? I'd never heard of them. How can there be a part I'd never heard of? So first I was like, what? I literally read it like 3 times. And then I put the book down, got out a mirror, got some lube, looked in the mirror, played with myself, and watched my vestibular bulbs puff up like the Pillsbury girl. I mean, they get huge. And then I sat there looking at these big swollen vestibular bulbs. The vestibular bulbs are under the labia, one on either side, and they're big wads of erectile tissue here and here, right there. And I looked at them and I went, how on earth did I not know this? Clearly they exist. Here they are. And then I checked with other women. I started asking women because I want to know, and found out, oh, yeah, we all have them, but nobody knows about them. How do we not know? Because our cultural map of female genitalia is incomplete. It's also got some things that are inaccurate. And anyway, that's what got me started on what I now call the hunt for buried pleasure, because there's more. That's not all. The fact is, those bulbs are made out of erectile tissue, and erectile tissue is what a penis is made out of. And we all know what penises can do, whether you play with them or not. You know what they can do. They can go from small and soft to big and hard. That's because they're made out of erectile tissue, which is specialized tissue that when you get aroused, fills up with blood, traps the blood in, and gets big and hard and swollen and dark and more sensitive. And here's seriously the $1 million message. Female bodies have just as much erectile tissue as male bodies do. Pound for pound, inch for inch, just as much. And you should know where it all is. Because if you do want to have the best, biggest, most expansive arousal, you need to know where it all is and get it all activated and puffed up and engorged. And you're going to be amazed at the level of erotic experience you can have once you've got it all on board. Because these are circuits, these are connected, overlapping circuits of erectile tissue, which I'll show you in the class exactly where they are and how they connect. And so basically what I realized is up until then, I was having orgasms from stimulation of just the head of the clitoris. An awesome part. Yay for the head of the clitoris. But this is the tip of the volcano. There's a whole network. I call it the female erectile network. And up until then, it was like I was playing music on the guitar and singing. It was nice. You can make amazing music playing the guitar and singing. But once that whole network is activated, it's like you've got an orchestra, right? And the music you can make with an orchestra is a whole lot broader and deeper and more profound and more expansive, let us say, than you can just do with a guitar. So how are we gonna know how to play our instrument unless we know where all these parts are? So this is my mission in life.
So this is going to be the class is going to be a literal deep dive into female anatomy, as
lots of illustrations, overlaps and just lots of plus fun stuff, because I like to put in like vintage erotic art and fun things like that. So it's fun. I'll make you laugh, I promise. And
lots of opportunity for questions. And I think this is important because in interacting with people, even preparing for tonight, women have a lot of questions, and there's no stupid question, right? I mean, I think we're made to think there are, but there aren't. And the container, this container and the container of that space that we're going to go into feels like a really, I don't like the term safe necessarily, but a encouraging space.
Supportive, comfortable, loving, excited.
Yes, excited. And that's what, yes, I love the excitement and the positivity. That's a word too that I think you utilize a lot, the positivity, and really making this a positive journey for women.
So I was coming out of a class once talking to somebody who'd been in the class and had been to like a couple of my classes, and they said to me, it's really great hanging out with you because you talk about sex like it was normal. It's like, yeah, because it is.
Because it is.
Yeah, it is. And we can all get to that place where it isn't this taboo, shameful, awkward, uncomfortable topic, where it becomes something that we celebrate. And that's what I want people to understand, that this is something, this is a gift we're given, right? I mean,
Yes.
we get to be in this body on this earth right now, here. Who knows for how long? Who knows if we get to go around again? I don't know, but I want to have all the pleasure that's possible. And I want you all to have that too. So yeah, that's my mission.
Yes, and it really dovetails with at least the mission and the container of the Midwest Women's in terms, Herbal, in terms of really wanting women to be able to experience um, the most powerful experiences we can, and that helps us to be able to contribute to our lives and our communities and our families in so many rich ways. And so, yes.
It's a part of our health. I mean, there's
Yes.
also, there are health implications, like why you should hang on to your uterus, which we will discuss, or how orgasm is one of the healthiest things you can do for yourself, right? You can, get enough sleep and drink enough water and get your exercise and have lots of orgasms if you want to have the most healthy life. And
Yes.
so it's an important component of health. And in fact, also medical providers not having this information negatively affects women's health in multiple ways. So that's another thing.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Well, I know we can talk for hours and hours and hours here. And I guess, we've covered a lot of the topics that I was hoping we would tonight. But I'm wondering if you have any last words for this audience, that's here tonight, that came to get a little bit of a taste of your work and what we might experience in the class, but also something to offer that they can take away, maybe. And even, I know you gave a little homework assignment, well, a big one actually, find a
Sure.
word, but anything else that you would leave women with as far as, hey.
Okay, so some home play suggestions, because we're so work obsessed with our culture. So it's home play. So one thing that we'll do in the class is I am going to encourage you to go on your own tour of your own genitals. And to do that by looking and feeling when you're not turned on, and then when you're moderately aroused, and then deeply aroused. You could start that right now. You can play with yourself. You can look, you can play, you can look. So you can start that even though you haven't learned where all the different parts are, just looking from the outside at the changes. I think you'll be delighted and impressed. So that's a great start. And I think one of the other things is maybe about learning to love your genitals. Because, well, as a provider for so many years, I have heard so many women who think there's something wrong with their genitals, or they're ugly, or they're dirty, or they're smelly, or they don't look right, they're not normal. I mean, the list goes on and on. So you could do a little self-love, genital self-love practice of just put one hand on your heart and cup your other hand over your vulva, and just take some nice deep breaths and just send some love, just some appreciation for this part of your body. And that's another a little game you could play, another little ritual or exercise, however you want to frame it. And then, well, honestly, come to the class because I really want you to know this stuff. And there's just not a lot of ways to learn it. You can read the book, which is awesome. I've got a recorded online class, but nothing beats hearing me teach it, seeing the slides and the images, and of course, the pussy pillow will be there, and
Well,
then
and being able to
asking.
interact with you, and being able to ask questions. So I want to actually just see if there's any one or two burning questions from the
Mhm.
chat, and then close for this evening. So maybe Maria can tell us if there's anything that we really
There,
would be good to.
there was
Yeah.
one question that came through, and someone wanted to know about hysterectomy and how all of that plays in.
Well, so this is something I will cover when we're doing the whole class, because it's really important. In the United States, we have one of the highest rates of hysterectomy, which is removal of the uterus, in the world. Doctors will tell you that your uterus has nothing to do with sexual pleasure. That's what I was taught in school, and that's still what is being taught. And that's just wrong. That is just incorrect. The uterus is a player in arousal and orgasm. So the first thing I want to say is if you don't have a uterus, I don't want you to feel terrible. You've still got the whole rest of your orchestra, and you can learn how to play it and make amazing music. And if you do have a uterus, I really want you to hang on to it because it is part of your arousal and orgasmic response. And I will go into detail and show you slides and show you how it moves and what moves it and what it does and why it does it, because evolution's got this whole brilliant plan here. But basically, if you are thinking about having it removed, if you've been told by a care provider to have it removed, I very much want you to come to this class because I really want you to know about your uterus, what it does, and why you should hang on to it. I will say that quickly, about 95 to 97% of hysterectomies in this country are not done for cancer. If you have a cancer, I understand removing it. That makes sense to me. Almost all of them are done for non-cancer reasons. And that to me is almost criminal. That's just a horrific mistake that our medical system is making. So don't let them make it on you.
Well, to me, I just want to say something about that because to me, the big thing is too, women aren't being given a choice. They're just told that this is what needs to happen. So
Yeah.
for me, I know I would want all the options and the whys and the hows and then make a decision myself based on having all the information. And so what you're doing is you're sharing other information to put into the pot, to be able to make an informed, rich decision about what you would like to do.
I'll tell you, you could go to 10 gynecologists and all of them will tell you to take it out because that's what
Right.
they learned. They don't know if you have fibroids. They don't know how to just go in and take the fibroids out. It's called a fibroidectomy. In Europe, that's the standard of care. So even if you got a lot of opinions, you still might get the same opinion. You really have to know where to go to get that alternative information.
And that's what I'm saying, like the
Yeah.
information you're sharing is more good information to put in there, and it's a place to go for the information, which is awesome.
Yeah, there's a
Yes.
wonderful organization called HERS, Hysterectomy Education and Resource and something else, HURS, something, that is the place to go for the information.
And
Okay.
we can search out that information and send it to people in
Sure,
our
if anyone wants
follow-up
that.
email.
Anyway, I know there's
Okay,
So we have,
so many great questions. I wish we had time to answer them all.
do you want
However,
to start, or do you want to end with one?
let's do one more.
All right.
You have
What are
to
your
pick,
favorite,
though.
what are your 5 favorite sex toys?
5 favorite sex toys. I don't even know if I have 5 favorite sex toys. I've got a small handful. Let's see. Well, so first of all, the good old Hitachi magic wand. I love that thing. With the there's like a ball shaped cap that goes on with a curved, like it's like this, which is called the G spotter. So you can use the whole thing. You can use just the end of this. You can use it as an insertable toy. I love that. So good old Hitachi magic wand. There's a million different ones, but you want to get the real one, not the fake ones. There's another toy called the Wee Vibe, WEE, because it's little and it's shaped like this, like there. And there's a piece that goes inside with a vibrator in here. And then there's another little piece that goes on the outside that will hit your clitoris. And so it's a wonderful toy because first of all, it stays in. If you have good muscle tone in your vagina and you put in an insertable and you don't hang on to it, you might just squirt it right out like a tube of toothpaste. This one stays in. And in fact, if you're having penetration, it can remain in place during penetration. So I love the Wee Vibe. Personally, I like a good vibrating anal plug. And just a reminder, any butt toys that you use have to have a flange, have to be designed for your butt. Not a gigantic one. Personally, I think the one that's not that much bigger than your finger, or just maybe, a little bit bigger. And that vibrates is lovely because we've got a lot of pleasurable nerve endings in our anus, and that's a great way to get more stimulation. So I would say off the top of my head, those are my three favorites by far. If you partner with people with a penis, there are also vibrating penis rings, which are nice for the penis owner, but also can give you more stimulation during intercourse. So that can be a nice adjunct if you have an available penis to put it on. So that was 4.
Wonderful.
Thank you,
Well,
Sheri.
thank you, Sheri. Just so grateful for you sharing this evening and being so generous with your time, and so looking forward to spending 3 hours with you on this topic.
I'm
in
so excited that we
February.
have 3 hours, because
Yes.
a lot of times when I'm teaching, I'll have an hour, hour and a half, maybe 2 hours. But my delight is when we have 3 hours, because then we've got time to go into all my wonderful little tangents about how did we wind up here in this place of not knowing, and things like going into the uterus issues and a little bit about the anal pleasure part, which we won't have time for in a shorter class. But then also we have time for lots of questions, because I know you've got them. We got lots of questions. I know there's a pile of questions there that I wish I had time to answer, but really, I mean, the problem is not only that we're often shy about asking, who are we going to ask?
Right,
I mean,
exactly.
our medical providers don't know, generally speaking. Our partners, our friends, it's a challenge. So
Yes.
come to the class, ask me all your questions.
And thank you so much for making this your life's work.
Hey, you know what? It's a business doing pleasure with you.
I love the play on
That
words.
One of
was
my other
great.
taglines. The other one is we put the comeback in community. Oh dear. Okay.
Oh, okay, Sheri, Linda, thank you so much for the stimulating conversation. It's very powerful and thought-provoking. It was a lot of fun, as well as conversations about sex should be, right? It should be fun.
Should be.
Also, thank you everyone for attending tonight. We appreciate your time and attention and your participation. So let's give away some goodies, shall we? Who's ready to win a book? So once I draw the name, I need you, when I call your name, I need you to put your name and your email in the chat. So Alicia and Ashley can grab that for me, and that way we can contact you to award your prize. Okay, so first off, we're going to give away Sheri's super cool book. Scroll, scroll. And we have Lisa Vasquez. All right. And now we're going to give away a registration for In Our Own Hands. Okay, so that's the full series, all 7. You're getting the whole thing. And that includes Sheri's amazing workshop and Linda's amazing workshop and all of the others. So let's see, how about Suzanne Sears? Suzanne Sears. All right, so we have Lisa's email. Awesome. And Suzanne, go ahead and pop in the chat and give us your email, please. Because I know you're still here. I can see you. I can see your name anyway. Okay. All right.
I got
So,
it.
all right. Awesome. 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 Thank you all. So we want to remind everyone too that all of the past community conversations are all archived on the Herb Women Classroom, and they're all free. And you can go and grab them and watch all of them in the comfort and of your own home. So don't forget that those are there. You will also be getting a recording of this session tonight, so you can rewatch and re-listen
And share.
and chat. Yeah.
Yes.
And please stay tuned to our newsletter and socials for future conversations. I think we're going to be having one probably in February hopefully with Pat Armstrong to announce her amazing herb walks that are going to be launched on the classroom. So yeah, we'd like to thank everyone for attending tonight, and especially Sheri and Linda for an amazing and fun conversation. We look forward to seeing all of you at future Midwest Women's Herbal events, and especially at In Her Own Hands. So all those links were in the chat, and you will be getting links tonight, and you might be getting a special coupon code for those of you who didn't win. So don't forget to look for that email and go sign up for In Our Own Hands so we can all gather again starting January 20th. Thank you so much. Why don't we, hey,
And
with that,
everybody would open your mic and just say good night. Love
Uh-huh.
you.
Good night.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Good night.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night.
Night.
Sweet dreams.